This is the first part of the video for section 1.4. In this video, we're going to talk about naming angles, how to name them, how to find the inside, how to find the outside, and then we're also going to discuss the types of angles that we have in here. So as we look at this here, let's first start with what an angle is. We talked about this in your definitions already. An angle is formed by two rays with the same endpoint. Okay, so they're formed by two rays with the same endpoint. The rays are the sides, the endpoint is the vertex, okay? So the key part here is you can name an angle by essentially three different ways. You can name it by its vertex, single vertex. You notice here on this angle, we have the two rays here, ray AB and ray AC, and the vertex is the one single endpoint that they share together, which is A. So you could name this angle A. You could also name it a number. Sometimes they'll put a number inside here. You can name it an angle 1, okay, if they put a number in here. The other way you name it, and it's probably going to be the way you name most things, are with three letters, where you'll notice that A, or the vertex, is always in the middle. So I can name this angle BAC, or I could name this angle CAB, but you'll notice A always has to be in the middle. Okay, so let's take a look here at what are two other ways to name angle 1. Now you'll notice this picture is slightly different in that in this picture we have two angles here, and they're essentially right next to each other. So it says here, what are two other ways to name angle 1? So I'm looking just specifically at this left side angle, and I'm going to outline this, and we're going to outline this guy in blue. So this is the angle I'm looking at right here. Okay, that angle right there, angle 1, and I want to know what are two other ways to name that. Okay, so I can name it with what the question really here is, can I name this with only angle M? That's the real question. Okay. Well, no, I can't, because there's two angles here. Angle M, does it refer to the left angle, the right angle, or the whole angle? Okay? Because there's two angles here, I cannot do that. So my two other names have to be three letters. So I need angle, and in this case, again, the vertex has to be in the middle. This is the vertex. So when I name this, I'm going to name this angle JMK. That's 1. And I'm also going to name this angle KMJ. That's two ways to name angle 1. All right, two ways to name angle 1. All right, now, as we let's erase this blue here, and let's take a look now. It says here, what are two other names for angle KML? Okay, so let's outline angle. All right, so we've outlined angle KML. Okay, and what I've done is I've flipped the letters. So I can flip the letters, but you'll notice, again, the letter that has to be in the middle is M, because M is the vertex. That's the most important point here. Wherever that angle comes to a sharp point, that's always going to be in the middle of your naming. Now, I can't name it KML because I already did. The only other way I can name it with this number here. We're going to say this is angle 2. Okay, angle 2. So as we look at this, again, there's a couple different ways you can name things. Letter B says, would it be correct to name any of these angles angle M? And the answer for that is no. Okay, the answer for that is no, because as you look at this picture, just like I said, angle M is here in the middle, but if I just say angle M, am I talking about 1, 2, or am I talking about the whole angle? Okay, you don't know. So that's why when you have two angles in one spot, two angles that share the same vertex, then you cannot name that with one letter. Okay, a couple other things here on this page that I want to cover. When you name angles using 3 points, the vertex again has to go in the middle. Okay, the vertex has to go in the middle. The interior of the angle is the region containing all the points between the two sides. So in here, I mean, this is kind of an obvious statement, but as we look at this here, the inside is the interior. This is the inside of the angle, the interior of the angle. The exterior is the part that's on the outside of the angle. This is the exterior angle of the exterior of the angle. Okay, so one way to measure the size of an angle is in degrees. To indicate the measure of an angle, you write a lowercase m in front of the angle symbol. So as we're going through here, in the diagram, it says here the measure of angle A is 62 degrees, as you can well see here in this picture. Okay, the measure of angle A is 62 degrees. We can write that very easily and say this is the measure of angle A is 62 degrees. We don't have to write that out every time, the word measure. Okay, so we will only be working with degrees. Now, one thing about degrees that you look at here is that, you know, a circle has 360 degrees. So remember, so 1 degree of a, 1 degree is 1/360th of a circle. Okay, a protractor forms half a circle, and then we just talked about it a little bit ago with your vocabulary that a protractor measures from 0 to 180 degrees, or a half a circle. Okay, the types of angles. And these are things we were talking about in your vocabulary, so I'm not going to talk about them too much because I talked a lot about them in your vocabulary. There's 4 types of angles that we're going to look at here. Acute angle. An acute angle is anywhere between 0 and 90 degrees. Okay, an acute angle. Then you have a right angle. A right angle is exactly 90 degrees. Okay, always has usually the square box in the corner. You have an obtuse angle, which is between 90 and 180 degrees. Okay. And then you have the straight angle. The straight angle is exactly 180 degrees. So what they're going to do for you is they're going to ask you, give you a picture and say, okay, what type of angle is this? Or classify the angle. When you classify the angle, you have to use one of these 4 possibilities. Okay, so now you should be able to take care of the examples below on this page, on page 2.